Well, thanks everyone for joining us for the third in our webinar series. Today we'll be talking about best do-it-yourself e-commerce solutions, website tips and tricks related to that as well. So the first thing I wanted to do is, before we really dive into the specific e-commerce platforms, is talk a little bit about the website itself, because you can have a really terrific product, but just placing a few products on your website isn't necessarily going to do the job. So just a little bit about the importance of a website. Today, really every single business out there needs a website. Your website serves as a public face for your company online, and it provides customers and prospects with a way to interact with you and learn about your company. It also helps them determine whether they'll trust you to take the next step and actually decide to engage with business with you. So prospects and customers expect to find you on the internet. They want to check out your company's background, who your clients are, what your location and hours are. They also want to make sure if you're legitimate and learn more about the people and products within your organization before potentially meeting you. Even if you run a one-on-one person consulting firm and you get most of your clients from word of mouth, you still need that website. So a particularly good website can also give you an edge over your competitors. It can potentially make you look even more professional or established or capable than others. It can also do the opposite effect if the website isn't planned well. Many customers also use websites to actually make sales, and that's what we'll be talking a bit about today, which is called an e-commerce site. So just a little bit about what you typically need to put on your website as a baseline. So your website is, if not the primary marketing tool for your business. As you choose what you put on your website and how it should look, always keep your marketing goals and messages upmost in your mind. We talked a lot about that last week. So just because you know how to add all kinds of trendy features to a website, it may not help you achieve your marketing goals if they aren't aligned. So no matter what type of site you're creating, here's some things that you probably are going to want to have on that website. So the first element is your homepage. So this is really the front door to your company's online presence. It's where people land when they type in that web address, and it should really affect your company's identity, and branding should always include your logo, your color palette, and your main elevator pitch and marketing messages. Then most people have some kind of products or services section. It's always good to have some kind of introduction to the section, not just jumping right into the product or service. And then people can drill down by categories and subcategories. Another thing we typically see on websites is an about page. So this would have background information about your company, including your marketing messages, your business philosophy or history. It might have biographies and photos of your key executives. And many visitors of this page want to see if you're credible and established. So you don't have to post an entire resume, but having some brief points about the executives and their background could be important. So website pages and more, these are also some additional content you're going to want to have on your site. Some way, a contact page. So how will people reach you? Most of the time people include phone number, obviously. Faxes are becoming less popular, but your fax, if you still have that, a lot of times you'll see a map if you actually have a retail store, and then also a contact form that people can fill out and get in touch with you immediately. If you do have a storefront, you can also add categories to your contact form. So whether it's, you can have them select whether they need technical assistance or help or just have a general question. So it's nice to have that online. It's also, if you post your email address on your website, it can be mined by spammers potentially. So having that form sort of provides that gateway between you and the web address there, or your email address. So another thing to have, especially if you have an e-commerce store, is privacy policy terms and conditions. And in this, you can be clear about how you'll treat your customers' private information. So if you do have an online store and people are purchasing something from you, they're going to be giving you some information about themselves, generally, how they're going to be billed and shipped. So having that terms and conditions is an important factor. Also, you would want to include information here about how you handle your shipping. What are your return or exchange policies, so people can easily those if before or after they place an order. Some other things might be relevant content. So having either a blog or a news or a tip section where you can post articles and or other information that relates to your products. This also helps significantly with search engine optimization. The more content you have written around your product, keywords and phrases, the better you'll result under. And Google also likes when you update that content regularly, so it seems like a site that's actually active and being used. Another thing that's really important with e-commerce these days is testimonials. So these would include praise for your company and its offering from satisfied customers. It's particularly helpful assuming your customers believe that it's coming from credible sources. So the best way to do this is to actually ask your customers for reviews. Many of the e-commerce stores that we'll be talking about have reviews built in that you can just turn on or off. You can also find reviews on, especially if you're starting from scratch, if people have left you any reviews on your Google business page or your Facebook page, since those are a public domain, you could actually copy those and put them on your website to start with. And then awards, if your company or products have received any kind of award or accreditation, be sure to list these. Builders will put little seals or associations or affiliations. These just help with that credibility factor. Trustpilot, if you haven't heard of this, we'll probably be talking about this a bit more in the reviews webinar, but it's becoming a high source of reviews. And there's lots of widgets that these companies like Yelp, TripAdvisor, Trustpilot, if you have accounts with them, you can actually embed widgets with your current ratings on your site where people can link in and check out more reviews. So those are helpful to add credibility. So some more of the website or attributes you might have. One would be a newsletter sign up. If you've decided to create a newsletter and develop a strong brand between you and your customers, it's always great to have your sign up form really easily found on your website. We'll talk about this some more in subsequent webinars as well. Potentially demos. So if your product is something that's not, that could be demonstrated the use of, videos are really great for that. So, can you demonstrate the use or setup of your product? They're also a great way to generate sales leads if you require them to actually put in their contact information to view the demo. So that doesn't work for every product, but if your product does require that, it can be a nice way to gain leads. And then a customer service section. So you really want to make it easy for customers to reach out for you for help or support. The most common way this is done is through a form, contact email, or address. Offering customer service is really helpful with e-commerce sites and really assures that after your customer purchases something, they feel confident that they could get a hold of you if they had a question or there happened to be something wrong with the product. So the really successful e-commerce companies out there provide excellent customer service and information on their site about that. User-generated content, this can be really fun and tie into social media strategies as well. So in some cases, you might want to foster a community amongst your consumers and really encourage them to share information or stories. You could ask them to submit a story that talks about how they've used their product to solve the problem. And then you can post some of those stories as case studies on your website. You can also ask them, depending on the product, to take a picture with the product. Some of the wineries are doing wine in the world type portal on their site. So if they're traveling and they bring a bottle of wine, they'll take a picture of themselves and or the wine in Alaska or France or something of that nature, and then submit it. So those are kind of fun, creative ideas. And then another really popular section these days is the frequently asked questions. So many sites include a document that has questions and answers, and you'll probably have a really good idea of what those might need to be after you start selling your product. It'll be the things that people are constantly asking you for, and this will cut down on some of the support costs and make it really easy and efficient for customers to get the answers to some basic inquiries. And a great way to do this nowadays on most of the sites is with using toggle panels. So you can have the question with a plus arrow in a circle or something like that, and then they can expand the box for the answer. So it's kind of a fun technique and allows them to see all the questions up front. So just a couple more aspects of the site to consider. Having a search box. So if your site has a whole lot of products and or articles, including the search box will allow visitors to really quickly type in something to find what they're looking for. And then enhanced visuals. So if your budget supports it, having really great professional photography and potentially video can make a huge difference in how your product represents online. Moving backgrounds, really short MP4 video clips are quite popular. A lot of really successful e-commerce sites really sell the lifestyle of the brand. So anytime that you can show people in the context of using your product, not really in a posed way, just in an everyday life or activity situation, those are really effective and can make a big difference. So here's 12 really quick tips for setting up your e-commerce site and selling on the web. One of the things that's important is to make sure that you're easily found. So you want to include your website address once it's created on all of your marketing material, in your ads, and make it easy to find your business in search engines. And we'll talk a little bit more about how to do this. It's important to keep your site clean and simple. So figure out what are the things that the users are most commonly looking for, and then really make those easy and accessible to them right when they come to your website. Making your website easy to navigate so that the users don't have to click through more than 1 or 2 pages to find out what they're looking for and make a purchase. Provide an easy to use navigation bar on all pages. So that's just that consistent menu that runs across the top. I see some sites that are a little bit older that actually the menu will change as you move throughout the site. And that's really discouraged in user studies these days. So also you want to sell your products, don't just list them there. So you just put a picture in it. If you're able to track and do that. Provide clear and accurate information on your products and services, so make it succinct. You don't need volumes and volumes of information. And if you do have a lot of technical stats or information that needs to be included, you can creatively design those in so that it's another click away or an expandable box, but always keeping those really core features right there up top. Adding a share feature is kind of really important these days. It allows people to quickly just hit that share button and share it on other social media channels. You have a lot more potential of what they call viral marketing that way, where other people are just sharing and sharing your information. And then finding ways to make customers feel secure shopping online these days. This is #1 done by having an SSL or security certificate. It's pretty much become if you have an e-commerce site, you need one of these. You've probably noticed in your browser visiting sites, occasionally you'll see this site is not secure. And really that just means it doesn't have an SSL certificate. It's not that it's been hacked necessarily or something like that, but that message is really a positive reinforcer for people when they see that this site is secure. Clearly identify all charges that they will incur in purchasing your product, as well as your return policy. So having those sneaky little fees or information that comes up right at that last page, or that your shipping is exorbitant or something like that, may not lend yourself very well online. And then ensuring shopper privacy. So rather than automatically adding them to an email list if they purchase something, having that opt in, even if the box is already checked, it's important to give people a choice in how they engage with you. And then, like we talked about before, just really providing that great customer service, make it a pleasure to shop with you. It's kind of those little things sometimes, just a little, the way the thank you letter is phrased, or the follow-up email, or even just a little card in the box with the product, can really reinforce those warm and fuzzy feelings, and that you're a real company and a person and not just a storefront. Okay, so some website essentials. These are some things that you will need. So getting a website up and running can either be potentially a really easy task involving a little time or money, or it could be an enormous undertaking requiring months of work and thousands of dollars. So it really depends on how big and complicated of a site you want. But there are a few things that you will need. One is a domain name. If you don't already have one, you do need to pick one of those. It not only helps potential customers locate your business, but also just what the domain name says is a marketing tool. So it tells customers who you are and what you do. You will need web hosting. Some of the companies we'll talk about here in a minute actually provide that integrated into their e-commerce solution. Otherwise, you do need a host to host your e-commerce site, unless you want to do it on your own servers, but not many people do that today. So typically, these costs are about $200 a year in terms of standard website hosting. The website platform, so this is picking which platform you want to use or which e-commerce solution, and I'll talk a little more about what each one of those is. So rolling into some of the actual options, e-commerce has really entirely changed the business scenario, with sellers showcasing their products online rather than in brick and mortar stores. And as a result, there is a need to develop e-commerce stores that reflect a perfect blend between both aesthetics, but they also need to function. So here's a list of what I've come up with of some of the best website solutions that you can do, not being the actual web developer. So we'll talk a little bit about each one. So Shopify, Wix, BigCommerce, and WooCommerce. So the first one being Shopify. So one of the benefits of Shopify, it's really becoming rising in the market right now. It's extremely easy to set up and use. Kind of a no-fuss environment for people potentially that don't know a lot about web development. They offer a lot of great themes, so it's really could be quite visually appealing. They offer quite a range of different template styles that facilitate the creation of unique and visually appealing online stores. It also can be customized if you get stuck or you need a developer to really add some special features to it. They do allow you to do that. It's very secure and reliable. Some of the other platforms have known to kind of go down more often than Shopify does. And security right now is really essential online. As you've heard of Target, some of the bigger stores getting hacked, I think it is a concern from the public. It does have excellent loading speed, which is a big deal in search engine optimization these days, and people that are on slower internet connections, they will potentially leave the site if it won't load quickly or correctly. So they've put in a lot of infrastructure to make that work correctly. And it also offers a lot of marketing tools that can integrate with that. The basic version offers SEO, so search engine optimization features, which what that means is it really allows you to control what the page titles, what the product titles, and what their meta, what the term is, can be on every single aspect of the site. And what that is essentially when you type something into Google and you see those search results, it's the first line title and the 2 lines below that on each listing. So with Shopify, they actually let you control what those elements are for your site to be found on the internet. It also offers analytics, so you can see what kind of traffic you're getting and what kind of what their behavior is going through the site. And it also offers additional marketing tools like gift cards, discount coupons, store statistics, targeted email marketing right from the platform. So you don't necessarily need a MailChimp or a secondary solution. You can actually use theirs. It is extremely strong in mobile responsiveness, which is important these days as a lot of people are shopping directly from their phone. So all of the themes are actually mobile responsive. And they have great support, which you find with a lot of these companies that's really necessary. As you run into trouble, you can get a hold of them 24/7 via chat or phone to resolve any queries about your store. They have easy payment. So a big challenge for an online realtor is to integrate secure and reliable payment gateway. And so they offer that service with a variety of different payment gateway options. And like we talked about before, they're actually very SEO friendly. So the cost of Shopify, depending on what you need, is approximately $30 to $300 a month. The 300 is really if you're having a pretty gigantic store, like 1,000 products or so. Most people fall closer to that 30 a month range. And then you are going to pay a transaction fee through your gateway. So any gateway you choose, whether you host your own website or not, you do need a processor, and they're all going to charge a percentage of that. And pretty much the standard is about that 2.4, 2.5 mark. So the next platform we'll talk about is Wix. So Wix has been around a while. It's really known as a very simple drag and drop interface website builder. A lot of people I've talked to find this pretty simple to work within. Everything's done in a kind of a design interface. You just grab an element and kind of pull it to where you want it. It also has quite a few themes, more themes than Shopify offers, actually. It doesn't have as much function in terms of the e-commerce. That's something they added on to it later. Shopify was built as an e-commerce site, and Wix was built more of a website builder, and then they added the e-commerce section to it. So it doesn't have quite as many gadgets as Shopify does. It offers a lot of the standard features you'd expect, but some of the features are lacking a bit. It does have a really easy to use dashboard, and it has a lot of add-ons. So if you do want a particular feature, you can add it on, but those start adding up also in terms of cost, because each of the add-on costs additional money. The e-commerce and VIP plans are the only option for the store to have the storefront. So you're looking at about $17 or $25 a month, so a little bit less than Shopify. And I think if you have a relatively small store, or just a couple products you want to add, and your focus is setting up a website for other reasons as well to showcase your business, Wix could be a good solution for that. If you are trying to attempt a more robust really e-commerce driven website, Shopify might be a better longer term solution for you. Wix, it also allows you to manage inventory. You can track products that way, how many units are left. Shopify also has this capability. It's great for selling digital products. So if you actually want to sell videos or MP3s or downloadable PDFs, you can do that actually with all the platforms we're talking about today. It has a great mobile app as well, which actually you can update your website directly from their mobile app. So if you're away from the computer a lot, that is a nice feature if you're on your phone. And SEO, they actually have it. I've heard it's not as robust as Shopify, but they have added that, and they do allow you to control your titles in Meta these days as well. So kind of at a minimum, if you're looking to sell less than 100 products, Wix can be a good solution for that with their really easy interface. So the next product we'll talk about is BigCommerce. So BigCommerce, real similar pricing to Shopify with that $30 to $300 a month, kind of that similar range depending on how many products you have and how many features you need. They only have 12 free templates. So a lot of people that BigCommerce is a little bit bigger of a solution. Some bigger companies are using this product. It's got a lot of robust attributes. So they do allow customization of those templates, but you have to be familiar with HTML or CSS coding to really manipulate much in there. Otherwise, you're pretty much stuck using their standard template. But you can sell an unlimited number of physical or digital goods. You can have any number of categories, and they're really strong in different kinds of shipping rates. So that's a whole aspect of your store to consider, is whether you want to do a flat rate shipping, or if you'd actually like to have live rates tied to a UPS, FedEx, or USPS account. You can actually pull live rates with BigCommerce. They also offer the drag and drop builder similar to the other products. And they integrate with PayPal and quite a large range of other payment gateways. One thing I should mention, if you already have a POS system where you're taking payments for your business, you can check with them and see if they have a web partner. It's usually branded as a different name, but often your bank or your gateway POS system will have a sister kind of company, and then you can they'll let you know which payment gateway they work with, then you can tie it all into the same system, which saves a lot of hassle down the road. You can have unlimited staff accounts. For Wix, for example, I think you only have one user login. So if you actually wanted to create several staff accounts and kind of track what's going on individually, you can do that with BigCommerce. It does have full CMS, so their WYSIWYG editor allows you to get in and make a lot of changes. One of the things about Wix is, from a web developer, which is a lot of what I do as well, I can't get into their code. So you're sort of limited to what the template and the drag and drop interface will let you do. But with BigCommerce and the next one we'll talk about, we're actually, if you need to hire a developer, we can get into the code and make changes. It also has good search engine optimization, and it integrates with some of the big email marketing engines. So when someone purchases a product, they can actually, their information will get put into whichever one you have integrated with. It offers lots of discounts, coupons, gift vouchers, and like the others, also has the review functionality. And like I said, has a lot of ability to get into that style sheet and update things as needed. It also offers the analytics, professional reporting, so you can run a lot of queries on your orders, order by product, order by customer, and run some different scenarios, which helps you get a feel for who your customers are within the back end. And that's a lot more robust than Wix offers. They have actually I think, over 35 different gateways that integrate with them. So if you are with a POS system and really want to stick with a certain payment gateway, likely they have a connection for that. Some of the others are a little more limited in which gateways they support. Like we said before, they are limited in the number of templates. And when I looked at it, actually they have 12, but it's really more like 5 when you look at it. They're really not drastically different than one another. So if a style doesn't really speak to you, you may need to hire someone to help craft a more customized template. So BigCommerce really doesn't have quite the bang for the buck as Shopify in terms of the theme aspect, of the design aspect of the site, but does offer that customization ability, which Shopify does not as much as BigCommerce does. So another big feature is how it handles product variants. So a variant is something like, so you have, let's say you're selling t-shirts and you have 5 different colors of t-shirts and they're in 5 different sizes. And then you have 5 different graphic options. So that's a lot of different variations. So you really have to do 5 times 5 times 5, and that's how many individual products are within that product. So certain shopping carts can't support that level of variant detail. So, but BigCommerce is one of those engines, along with one we won't talk about today called Magento, is one of the biggest e-commerce sites that a lot of developers use, but it allows for a lot of levels of customization. And I think, yeah, up to, you can create a large number of product options, so up to 250 options, which is probably far more than most of us would need. Another BigCommerce feature we're singling out is it gets a lot of praise for its abandoned cart feature. So if somebody is searching online, they put something in their cart, they almost get to that checkout point, but they don't. If they have captured some of their information along the way, you can actually remarket to those people and connect to your MailChimp or your Constant Contact, and they'll actually send them an email and say, hey, you left something in your cart, you know, and you can include a little discount coupon or something. I think probably most of us have been privy of this one time or another, but it is shown statistically to drive additional sales. So a nice feature of BigCommerce also is that it lets you potentially run an online store just like your POS. So you can actually manually log in and actually process a payment through the interface. So this gets a little technical, but instead of having to go from the front end of the website and purchase a product, if you were at your store, you could just log into the back end and run a card essentially through the interface. So that's kind of a nice feature. It's also very strong in SEO and analytics, and they do have excellent support. So if you do want to dive into something bigger and deeper like BigCommerce, they do have a lot of support available to you. So the next solution that I'll talk about is WooCommerce and WordPress. So this is a rising engine. I do want to preface that this product is different than the other 3 we just talked about, in that you actually own and run the code on your own server of your choice or your own host. The other 3 are what's considered proprietary e-commerce sites, so you're actually running it off of their servers. And if for any reason, which is unlikely, but any of those companies were to go out of business, you would essentially potentially lose your website as it is. There are a lot of migration tools out there now that'll actually help you convert, say, a BigCommerce site into a WooCommerce site, but there will be a lot of rework involved in that. But this is kind of a unique solution in that it's something that you can kind of 100% own and control. So when we talk about WooCommerce, which essentially plugs into a WordPress site, and WordPress can either be hosted WordPress, which is something you would get at WordPress.com, which is actually choosing WordPress.com to be your host. They're a lot more expensive than some of the other solutions, but they've done a good job of marketing themselves, so a lot of people end up there. Or you could purchase a hosting plan on Bluehost or GoDaddy or Network Solutions or any of those types of hosts and just install WordPress on it. They also those hosts offer a lot of managed WordPress hosting plans, so they effectively do what WordPress.com does, but it gives you a lot more flexibility, especially to add additions and plugins to the site. So annual hosting, just to give you an idea of what this might cost using managed WordPress, is about $200 a year, and that does include that SSL certificate that we talked about. The WooCommerce base cart is actually free, a free plugin. So you just plug it into your WordPress site and you're off. Now, if you do want to purchase extensions to WooCommerce, those do have a fee. We'll talk about that a little bit. If you do want to purchase a premium theme, there's a lot of themes that are developed specifically for WooCommerce. So they make your products look really nice. Those are around usually a one-time fee of $59. Huge community of them. So I would say there's far more than any of the other three we talked about in terms of available themes out there. WooCommerce is free and open source. It's easily accessible for everyone who's just starting out in e-commerce. It's pretty easy to set up, pretty easy to customize. Once the site is live, it's often difficult and expensive to make changes if you have a custom e-commerce site, which is this kind of blends into that realm. However, WooCommerce makes it really easy than if you had developed an e-commerce site from scratch, which is what we all used to do 10 plus years ago. With the WooCommerce platform, we can easily switch back and forth between appearances. So in the future, if you feel like your theme or your store has become a bit outdated, you can actually just install a new theme and then work on some simple changes, but it can just, it keeps all of the data intact. So that's kind of nice as well. So some more of the main features, you really have unrestricted customization. They allow you into every aspect of the code. It's built-in blogging because it's built on a WordPress site, which was the original blog. It's easily manageable with product categories, tags and attributes. It has the product ratings and reviews, as all three of the others have done. There's a lot of sorting and filtering options, which most of the stores also offer. You can do location customization, so you can even change the store by currency or language, and even measurement units. It's affordable, flexible, and has really strong SEO, especially because it integrates with WordPress's other SEO tools you can use. And the Woo store belongs to you and you alone, so it's not owned essentially by another company in terms of its code. Selling products or services via third party is subject to that party's rules and terms. So this is a little bit different in that regard. And it has a huge community of official extensions. So what an extension might be would so you can buy a module. I think most of them are for under $100, and you can connect live rates to FedEx. If there's a integration for MailChimp. There's if you want to have specialized like digital gift cards, there's an app for that. So pretty much any aspect of store function you've seen or witnessed online or are hoping for, there's probably a plugin developed for WooCommerce for that function. And in fact, there's over 400 official extensions of WooCommerce. There's also off-market ones that you'll find online as well. So I will switch views here for a second. And so here's a nice little comparison chart of some of the products we were just talking about. So in terms of BigCommerce, you're looking at, if you need that flexibility, the scalability to a much bigger site, multi-channel selling, strong SEO. It's a good choice for that. Some of the negatives might be that its loading speed is not nearly as good as, say, Shopify. High volume stores end up paying more. So if you end up with a lot of products on your site, they'll start charging you more for that. And no one-click selling. So it's basically not a one-click checkout. It's a several-stage checkout process. Whereas we'll talk about Shopify here in a second, but they have one of the best checkout points. So Shopify, by contrast, has fast loading time, super easy setup, easier than BigCommerce. It has one-click selling apps, so you can go really straight from that click to the end point of your checkout process. It's not as strong with SEO, and the checkout screen is not customizable. I can bring up some examples here in a second, but I always know it's a Shopify store when I get to the checkout on various sites because they all look identical. And I think that might be somewhat of a little bit of a flaw in their design because of that, but it also creates a little bit of credibility that, okay, this is a Shopify site, since they are strong with security. And the apps to add on to them are fairly expensive, even though their monthly cost is fairly low. So then when we look at Wix, they're really strong with that design and themes, super simple to set up, includes a lot of marketing automation, but they're probably the weakest of all the solutions in terms of SEO, not great in terms of upselling capabilities. So that's things like being able to put related products at the bottom, or you might also be interested in, or when they get to the cart add-ons, that kind of thing. They just don't offer that. No integration with Amazon, whereas the others do offer connections, so you can connect your products directly to an Amazon store if you've set one up. WooCommerce really is the leading for search engine optimization, which is really important these days. There's a lot of that one-click checkout options available. Lots of service providers for the payment gateway. Hosting can be expensive if you choose the wrong host, but with solutions like the price I'd quoted before from GoDaddy, it's actually pretty affordable at $200 a year. It can be a little more difficult to troubleshoot, so it's not built-in support like the others have. So you do have to create a ticket and wait for a response with WooCommerce. So if you aren't a web developer working with one, sometimes that can frustrate people if your store is somewhat complex. And you potentially could have to add a lot of extensions if you need them. Otherwise, if your products are pretty simple and straightforward, you may not need any at all. All right, so I will pull up the website here. I might have to share my screen again. Yes, okay, let's see, let me share. Okay. So I'm just going to quickly pull up and then let you talk a little bit, Lana. Each one of the products that we talked about today's website. So you can go to each one of these. So for example, shopify.com/examples, and you can actually see some of the storefronts that people have created and what they look like. So that'll give you an idea of style. So for example, this the Citizenry, I actually found this website a number of years ago and just think it's beautifully done. It also really showcases what photography can do for a website. It's seeming to want to load right now. Shopify. But this is a great place you can go and look up different examples by category as well. You can also come up under here and they have a lot of explanation of what exactly all their tools are and their marketing aspects. And then a lot of these companies are offering free trials as well. So that's a great way to get started, is to just sign up for a free trial and actually try the product for a short period of time and see if you like it or not. You can even do that with each one of these. BigCommerce, so they've got a demo instead of a trial aspect for the site, but you can actually log into the portal and play around from there. They also have some examples on their site, so you can get a feel for what's possible. And then again, lots of information about the different features that they have and services for each one, and case studies, which are kind of interesting. And then Wix, they've got website examples here, definitely stronger in terms of the design and flexibility of the design than some of the other examples, but also very clean, very simple, but they have quite a wealth of options there. And when you look at templates, you want to make sure that you look at the ones only related to the e-commerce, because that's something they've added separately. But you can also click into features and really find out in detail what all of their features are specifically for e-commerce solutions. And then the last one is WooCommerce. So they also have a showcase section of their site and promoting some of the big brands that do use their storefronts. You'll see a lot more variety in terms of design here because of the amount of themes that are out in the marketplace and possibilities. So they've got a lot of great examples there. WooCommerce is really easy to test as well. If folder or a WordPress site within that hosting plan generally, even if you already have a site. And then you can just search for WooCommerce in your plugins and install it. And that's a good way to kind of start playing around with its capabilities. All right, so that's all I had there. I'll turn it over to Alana to talk a little bit about library resources related to this topic. I'll stop the share.
Okay, so I'm gonna open up my screen. It looks like I need some access to screen sharing.
Let's see if I can do that since I'm a co-host. Here we go. Yep. Okay, you should be good.
Alrighty, so let me know if you can see my screen.
Looks good.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna start over here. First thing you want to know, again, this is the library's homepage, and I'm going to show you under research. You can go to business and investment, and this is all of my contact information and some of what you can find at the library. So right over here is everything that you need to know in order to be in contact with the business librarian. I did a search in Udemy, and I can happily teach anybody how to get there, how to search it, but this is one of the databases that we have to look at some of the things that we were talking about today that Laurel was sharing. We have some information on how to use Shopify. We have information on how to use WordPress if you wanted to do that. And then within our collection, we have books on how to do web development, including coding. So if you decided that you wanted to learn how to code and have a little bit more control over your website, you could go to the library's resources through our books and our ebooks. Let's see, there we go. And if you wanted to learn specifically about WordPress, you could do that as well. And these are just some sample searches. So keep up with us on Facebook, follow us there. And if you didn't know any of my contact information, you could message the library through Facebook and they would direct you. And then we also, again, have our Instagram page that you can keep up with us through following. So that is some information for resources that connect with what we're talking about today.
Great, thank you. All right, well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with our fourth series, I believe related to email marketing. So hope to see you all then. Bye.